Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Live Ready Fitness podcast. Thanks for being with us. I am really excited about today's topic. We're talking about the power of your words and how they really affect the way you see yourself, the way other people see you, really your kind of ability to do certain things or not do certain things. The reason that we're even talking about this is Elliot here has had clients kind of continuously talk about themselves in a certain way. So Elliot, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we hear it all the time with people who come in and they're just doing regular training sessions. And when we get to something that is a little bit more complex, they immediately do like a self-doubt, or they talk about that they're not good at something. So an example is like, let's say we have them use the jump rope and we do something called double unders, which, you know, with normal jump rope, you do singles. The rope goes under your feet once. For double unders, your rope goes under twice. So it's a really great cardiovascular workout. It's a really good monostructural workout, which means you can do it for a long time. And so we teach our clients that. And it does require a lot of coordination. Now, coordination, when you think about coordination, it's something that I guess people don't realize that you need to practice it, right? In order to get better at coordination, you have to practice, which is exactly what we're getting our clients to do.
Right.
But what ends up happening is the moment that they miss or they trip up on the rope, or even if they try it and, you know, falls out of their hands, which is like all normal stuff,
Right.
then their immediate response is, oh, I'm not coordinated.
I'm not good at this.
Yeah, I'm not good at this. I'm not coordinated. Whenever we teach like a complex movement, it's I can't do this. Or the moment that they see something that they just have never done before, it is an immediate I can't do this, or I don't have the ability to do this. I'll never do this.
I'm bad at this.
Right.
Yeah. So what is like the most common one that you hear?
I know coordination is a huge one, is I'm not coordinated. Another one is I'm clumsy, or coordination for some reason is jumping in my head because I think I hear it every single time somebody does jump rope.
Yeah.
But other ones is just things like, I'll never be as fit as that person, which, yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's like a self-doubt.
Yeah,
it's telling yourself.
It's also comparison.
Right. It's like telling yourself that, no, it's almost saying like you can't ever get good at this.
Right.
Like I have something actually wrong with me that makes me where I'm not coordinated, which we know is not the case, right? You can get better at that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I think we forget that when we first start something, like no one is ever good at it. No one starts good at something.
Right.
Like you progress, you work at it.
Yeah, you have to practice.
Right.
And the more and telling yourself that you're not good at something is not helping in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Right? Because if I said over and over that I was uncoordinated, no matter how much I practiced, every time I messed up, I just kept going, well, it's just because I'm uncoordinated. One is I'm literally giving myself an excuse. Right? Like it's almost like, oh, the reason for this is I'll just never get good at this.
Right.
And then two is I look at it as if you continue to tell yourself you're uncoordinated, there is no other outcome. There is no other way for you to see yourself. There is no other way for other people to see yourself that way.
Well, and even like scientifically, like the more you say something, the more you're like building that like neuro pathway in your brain. So not to get too nerdy, but that's literally why the outcome won't change, is because you are now believing that, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is you get to control, by just saying that you're this type of person, you get to control the type of person that you are and that you're viewed as. Right? Because how many people are confident yet don't say they're confident? There's not a lot. Right? I mean, probably none. Like if you're a confident person, you're like, I'm a pretty confident person.
Yeah.
They don't wake up magically and they're confident and then they say that they're confident.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no, it's like you just tell yourself, like, I'm a confident person. I'm going to be a confident person. I'm going to be a fit person. I'm going to be a coordinated person. I'm going to be someone who is good at this over and over. And then you start to see that change.
Kind of going off of that, how do you get your clients past continuing the negative, like kind of monotone voice in their head?
Yeah, it's tough. The only thing we can do as trainers is a positive reinforcement, right? Or explaining to them why, just like we're doing right here in the podcast, as to why that you don't want to continue to say that. And the key there is to change the narrative immediately. So what we do as trainers is, if I have someone who says they're not coordinated, I'm like, you are coordinated.
Right.
And if you're not, like, that's what we're practicing. That's why you're here, is to get better, right? So if you don't have a trainer, for my athletes, is I remind them that they are to change that narrative the moment that they say it. So if in their mind they go, I'm not a coordinated person, I tell them, you need to immediately go, that's a lie. I am a coordinated person.
Yep.
Or I absolutely will be. Or I like there, because I like to do it like, you are that person right now. You know, it's kind of like we did that podcast a couple months ago where we talked about if the future you would do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
If the future you is a coordinated person, then you need to act like you're a coordinated person,
Right. Yep.
you know, or whatever your thing is that you're saying that you're doubting yourself, whatever skill you're doubting yourself at. Another thing that we talked about, I know you listened to it too, is like that the quote of the day where the girl kind of talks about like her boss explained to her that she wasn't being viewed as someone who's tough.
So she wasn't getting promoted.
Right. She literally wasn't getting promoted because they felt like she wasn't tough enough.
Right.
So then all she did was go around and tell everybody she was tough.
Right.
She'd be like, don't do that. You know, I'm tough. Like, I'll get on you. Or, hey, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm tough. Like, literally said that. And then next thing you know, and this is like a couple weeks, couple weeks later, everyone around her is constantly saying how tough she is.
Right.
You know, she's literally hearing people going like, don't do that in front of her. She's tough. She didn't change anything about herself.
Right.
Besides the fact that she just started saying
people
she was tough.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And how many times in your life, or I know in my own life, I've been told I am a certain way, and then that's the narrative in my mind, right? Either positive or negative. So if I've been told I'm smart, all of a sudden, okay, I'm smart. Or I've been told I'm sassy, right? But it can spill over into like, well, I'm not just sassy, I'm mean, right?
Sure.
Like you can go the extra positive or negative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the thing is you're absolutely right that people have that impact, right? If people are constantly calling you something, it's hard. It's not an easy thing to just be like, that's not me, right? But you have to ask yourself, the other question is, why do people think this about you, right? So for me personally, is I don't care one bit, right? Like, I could care less what somebody says about me unless it's affecting like my job or something, right? But I also know what persona I put out to the world, right? And I'm just like everybody else. I have days where it's harder to be that person that I want to be, and it's harder to tell myself that thing to keep myself in that lane, right? But the moment I don't, I notice it. Right. The moment that I feel like I strive to be a fairly positive person, right? Like, I strive to look to the future, to have a lot of ideas, to help people. I strive to do that stuff. And just like everybody else, like, I get burnt out. And some days I'm just like, oh my God, I just don't want to be that.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then my persona changes because that's what I'm telling myself. Right. And it's as simple as deciding that I'm no longer going to be this negative person or unhappy or whatever the case is.
Right.
You know, another story about that is this is so effective that you're going to see an immediate return from doing something like this. You know, I went to Ben Bergeron's Affiliate Excellence course. And if you don't know who Ben Bergeron is, big, like, you know, CrossFit gym, puts a bunch of games athletes through, but really, like, you know, has his own book. And one of the things that he said was that it's really important to learn people's name, right? If you guys don't know the word, you should learn people's name. Like learning people's name is so powerful that the one word that every person wants to hear more than any other word is their name, right? So with that being said, as a coach, it's really powerful to know people's name, right? Because you get their attention, they like you more, all of that stuff.
Right.
So before I went to that course, I could not remember a name to save my life. Like, it's literally like it would literally, you know, like it was to the point where someone would say their name to me and immediately I would be like, oh my God, I don't even know what they just said. Like that's how bad it was. And so for the longest time, I was like, I'm just bad with names.
Yeah.
So I went to this course. He was like, names are really important. You have to learn names. And he's like, the first way that you get better at names is stop telling yourself you're bad at names. And I was like, there is no way that that's it. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it out. So I got back, had a meeting with my staff. I started to just randomly tell them, like, I'm good with names. I'm good with names. Like, I'm good. And I kept telling myself that, like, I'm good at names. So what ends up happening is when somebody would tell me a name, because I said I'm good with names, I was like, okay, now I have this reputation to hold up to, right? Yeah. Now I need to, like, make sure I listen to this person's name. And when I tell you, this is no lie, within 4 days, it was like 3 or 4 days, I knew 98% of the gym's name. Like, somebody come in, I knew their name. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? And so this day, I'm way better with names because I told myself I'm good with names. You know what I mean? Like, like really simple stuff like that will just change, like, how you do things.
Yeah.
So
I think it can go even deeper than that, though. You can say, okay, yeah, I'm good with names, but it can go as deep as who you are, right? So I've done things in my life that I regret, right? We all have. But I'm able to go in and say, well, that's not who I am. I made a mistake, but that's not who I am, and I know who I am.
Right.
And so I can tell myself that, and I can get past it because I'm not believing these terrible things about myself, and I'm not telling myself these terrible things about myself. I think even our words, like it goes even deeper than our words. It literally comes from our minds. If we're thinking something, like, it generally is gonna have an outcome.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna be the outcome.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. So you know, basically what you're saying is one or two actions doesn't define who you are and who you decide to be. Right? Because and we'll bring it back
even more than one or two, but
yeah. Well, and we'll bring it back to training, right? So going back to coordination, going back to I'm weak, or I'll never be able to do that stuff. Whatever the reason is that you think that because of past experience. You think that you're uncoordinated, you're clumsy, all that stuff. That's all past experience. But again, you decide who you get to be, right? So if you don't want to be clumsy anymore, then the first step is telling yourself I'm not clumsy. If you want to be someone who is fit, the first step is telling yourself that you are a fit person.
Right.
If you want to be healthy, you got to tell yourself these things. Because I'm telling you, you can't. I mean, you probably can, but it is very hard to do to be coordinated, to be fit, to be healthy, to be successful if you're telling yourself, if you're not your biggest fan and you're telling yourself that you're not those things.
Right, exactly. And I think even without getting too much into, like, the subconscious, but it is very powerful. Your subconscious mind does control really what you do more than even your conscious mind. Yeah,
I agree. And guys, try this. Try it. Pick something today, now, as you listen to this. Pick something that you tell yourself that you're bad at, or you're this type of person that you don't want to be that. You know, maybe it is as simple as wanting to know people's name. Maybe it is something at work that you want to be perceived as something different, right? And change that thought first internally, and then just start verbalizing it. Start telling people, start saying it out loud, start writing it down, start acting in accordance, which you're going to do naturally because you're saying it. Right. And then really just see, like, how powerful it is and how much things will change if you make that little tweak. Right.
Absolutely.
Because and think about it. It's no different than if somebody you loved, or somebody, you know, your kids or something, said something negative about themselves.
Right.
Like when my daughter, sometimes she brands herself in a negative way.
Right.
You know, she's like, now granted, I get it. Some people do get anxious and have, like, right? But she'll be like, I just get anxious easily. And I try to shut it down. Yeah. Right. I'm trying to, like, be like, no, you're not. Right. Because again, if she's constantly telling herself that, then that's the only outcome she has. Where granted, she could be that type of person, but she could also decide that I'm going to fight this thing so that it doesn't ruin my life that way.
Right.
You know, so I think this is something really important that people need to try, because it's simple and it's easy, and it will, in fact, change your life, not only in the gym, but outside the gym as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. I think for me, I remember about a year ago, right after I got hired, actually, I was so in my mind of, I am not as smart as people think I am. I do things wrong all the time. And I would say that out loud, and not to be overly religious here.
Yeah.
I don't want to freak you out, but But I felt like God told me, you're saying things that are not true about yourself, and you're saying things that I don't think of you, and
Sure.
you need to stop, and you need to like correct yourself. And so I remember I was like hanging a curtain in my house, and I literally said out loud, I probably did that wrong. And immediately I was like, no, I probably did it right.
That's right.
And that was like the first day of not thinking that I was stupid.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's something called the imposter syndrome. That's kind of that. We won't get into it, but it's a bigger issue than I think a lot of people realize. And so hopefully that, us kind of talking about it has inspired you to make that change. We would love to hear about it. So if you want to put in the comments and tell us what's the thing that you changed and adjusted, or what narrative you're trying to change about yourself, we would love to hear it.
I don't think Elliot said enough love to, so we would really love to.
Yeah, love to times infinity. But hop on our social media channels and put that on there. And unless you got anything else, I think that's it.
I think that's it.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next show, and have a great week or 2 weeks.